Pursuant to the Open Public Meetings Law, notice of this meeting stating the time and place was satisfied by the filing of an annual notice with the local source and the Star Ledger, newspapers of general circulation within the Township of Union, and posted on the bulletin board of the Township of Union Municipal Building.
Thank you, Diana. Welcome to the Township meeting, Planning Board meeting of December 19th, 2022. Can I have a roll call, please?
Okay, Ms. Frazier? Mr. Johnson?
Here.
Mr. Lee?
Here.
Mr. Lewis? Ms. Perkins? Reverend Starling?
Here.
Committeeman Florio?
Here.
Committeewoman Dellisfort?
Present.
Ms. Ricketts?
Here.
Mr. Miller?
Here.
Chairman Bowser?
Here. We have a quorum. Can we swear in the two engineers, please?
Kindly raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give the board tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Thank you. At this time, can I have a motion to approve the minutes?
Mr. Chairman, I move the minutes of the October 27, 2022 meeting. Do you want me to move them both at the same time, or just one?
Do both, please.
As well as the November 21, 2022 meeting minutes as well.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote?
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Reverend Starling?
Yes.
Committeeman Florio?
Abstain.
Committeewoman Dellisfort?
Yes.
Ms. Ricketts?
Abstain, not present, October 22nd, and yes for November 21st.
Thank you. Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Chairman Bowser?
Yes. At this time, we have one resolution to cover this evening, Proud Papa. Can I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve the Proud Papas B2606 L26.01.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Diaz. At this time, can I have a vote, roll call vote, please?
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Reverend Starling?
Yes.
Committeeman Florio? Committeewoman Dellisfort?
Yes.
Ms. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Chairman Bowser?
Yes. At this time, we have a number of new business items. First application is Lytle, the representative for that application. Please come forward.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Is this on? Thank you. Mr. Chairman and board members, Stephen Hale representing the applicant, Lidl US. If you recall, we were here at the last meeting, and the board had requested, Mr. Johnson said, quote, we're very close, just wanted clarification on two items. We did have a memorandum put together by our site engineer, and I submitted that on December 14th. The two questions that were raised by the board at that time, one was just a confirmation that there would be no glare emanating from the signage, either the sign which we had again agreed to move off the awning and put it on the building itself. And if you recall our testimony, it was much, much less than the square footage that would be permitted under if it was one sign. The second, and for the monument sign, we said it would be a beautiful sign, mounted monument sign, and although it's not on this exhibit, we would submit it as part of resolution compliance, adding Township of Union to that sign. You go by the Garwood site, that's right at the edge of Garwood and Cranford, so it says welcome to, but we'll do it tastefully with Township of Union on the monument sign. And the exhibit that Mr. O'Malley prepared, unfortunately, he was hit with COVID, so he couldn't be here this evening, but I told him that I would introduce his memorandum to the board. Also, with the way the signage is done with the internally illuminated signage, that it will not cause any glare on the highway or any safety issues for the traveling public. And just again, I was wrapping up last time, but this is one of the most one of the nicest green sites along Route 22. You've got these other buildings that have proliferation of signage. This is very limited signage for a single tenant building. It's a very large site with a lot of green space in front. And when I first came before this board a number of years ago, all efforts were made to comply with all of the setbacks, and that's why this building has such a large green area in front. We think, again, the wall sign that we're seeking is, while the two signs, we're looking for the variance for two signs, the two combined are, again, much less in square footage than one large sign could be on that side, on either side of the building, but on that side. And then the monument sign, again, will tout the fact that this is the Township of Union, tastefully landscaped. The exhibit that was submitted also shows the type of landscaping. It's going to be low landscaping around that monument sign, and again, tastefully done, and we'll just break up that area between the driveways and the edge of the property. And we think, we really appreciate the feedback that the board professionals, Mr. Klein, and your attorney have provided to us and the board, and we look forward to this approval and confirmation. We'll get these signs installed as soon as possible, and look forward to Lidl remaining an important business tenant in the Township of Union.
Thank you. Any witnesses for this evening's application?
Grant from Lidl is here in case the board wanted to hear from him again. Again, I would submit this, the memo in from Bowler Engineering that just depicts everything. But if you have any questions for my client, he's here and eager to have this project move forward.
Questions from the board? Questions from the public? If none, at this time, can I have a motion to approve this application?
Mr. Chairman, I respectfully move application 2022-13 that have been carried, Lytle U.S. Operations LLC, be approved.
With the stipulations that this is a unique site, as you expressed, with a lot of land area, so that the fact that we have two signs does not create any sign clutter or sign pollution on the site. Can I have a second?
Second.
Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Johnston?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Reverend Starling?
Yes.
And Committeeman Florio?
Abstain.
Committeewoman Delasport?
Yes.
Ms. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Chairman Bowser?
Yes.
Great. Thank you so much, and again, appreciate all your time and attention to this matter.
Thank you, Mr. Hale.
I can't say have a great night. You'll see me short.
At this time, our next order of business is application 211 Hilton LLC. Will the representative for that application please come forward?
Good evening, Chairman Bowser, ladies and gentlemen of the Planning Committee.
Good
My name
evening.
is Attorney Maury Winkler, and I'm here on behalf of 211 Hilton. This is our group here. We are proposing to erect, well, first of all, we're going to get rid of a horrific eyesore right here in the Township of Union and replace it with, we're seeking a place with two attached, three-story, single-family dwellings as part of a two-lot subdivision where the property line is going to actually be a wall between the two properties. Now, because obviously we're putting two buildings on one lot, there are a number of variances that we'll be seeking. We'll be seeking variances for lot area, lot width, side yard setback, building height, side yard setback, front yard setback, and lastly, there's a small overhang issue. The building will be very tastefully done, and
Excuse me for 1 second.
yes.
Does the lawyer need to be sworn in?
Swearing in lawyers now?
Do we need to swear in the lawyer?
No, not the attorney.
Okay. Oh, thank God. Okay. All right. I do have witnesses, though, that I'd like to introduce.
Yeah.
I'd like to start off with the owner, one of the developers himself, Mr. Seth Daniels. Could you come up, sir? He's going to just talk to you a little bit about the general scope of the building and some of the economic considerations that I'm sure you're going to be pleased to hear. And Seth Daniels is not only one of the developers, he's a licensed mortgage broker. Go ahead, Seth.
Sir, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give the board tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And would you please spell your name for the record?
Seth Daniels, Seth Daniels.
Thank you.
Good evening, Chairman Ricketts and the rest of the planning board. I am.
Excuse me, can you use this mic over here, please? Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Good evening, Chairman Ricketts and the rest of the. Bowser,
Yeah.
I do apologize.
That's fine.
Chairman Bowser, and the rest of the planning board. So, my name is Seth Daniels, as aforementioned, and I am a third owner of 211 Hilton LLC. My other two partners are here in attendance, Andrew Horton and Michael Horton. And so, wanted to just share a little bit about the project. This is a project I remember the house from going to Central 6. So, you know, that was last year if you look at the gray hair, but essentially, that house has been there for a very long time, and it's fallen into disrepair. So our goal is to definitely rehabilitate the neighborhood and beautify it. And the approach that we're taking, the house was zoned for two-family zoning, but when we started doing the due diligence, based upon my background as a licensed loan originator since the SAFE Act passed in 2008, I've been appropriately licensed, and currently I'm licensed in 5+ states. The challenge that we have here in Union County particularly is there's not enough housing stock. That's one challenge. And then additionally, there's a challenge of people being able to afford homes. So the concern was if we did a two-family home, it would be extremely cost prohibitive, just based upon the fact that it's a two-family home. So by having two single-family homes that are done in a townhouse style, we felt that would fit very nicely into the neighborhood, and it expands the number of potential buyers at the point that, should the board approve, that can purchase the home. And that was the approach that we took. So I'm not sure if there are any other questions, but if there are, I'm happy to answer them.
Questions from the board? Questions from the public? Seeing that there's none, your next witness.
Thank you.
Sir, would you raise your right hand, please? Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And would you please spell your name for the record?
Vinu, V-I-N-U, M. Patel, P-A-T-E-L.
Thank you.
Mr. Patel, what is your occupation?
I'm a licensed architect.
Okay, and how long have you been licensed?
I'm been licensed since 1987 in the state of New Jersey.
Okay, and have you ever testified for a board such as this for the purpose of rendering expert testimony?
Yes, I have testified in many boards. I didn't get opportunity to testify in this board, but yes, I have done in Edison, Old Bridge area and all that.
Okay.
Yes.
And are you in fact familiar with the regulations regarding properties in the Township of Union?
Yes, we follow these, it's the international building code, so basically all codes are pretty much similar, you know.
I'm going to ask that this veteran be accepted and deemed an expert witness.
The board stipulates.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Patel, tell us what you have to say about this property.
Sure, sure. This is going to be a 3-story townhouse, basically a small house. The first floor consists of 2-car garage. There's an entry hallway, and there's 1 full bathroom, plus there's multi-purpose area that can be utilized for, yes.
Do you have any visuals for the...
I think there's the plants. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, I have to do that? Oh, I'm sorry.
Open the folder.
And sir, can you please speak into the microphone?
Whichever one.
Oh,
Mr. Patel, thank you.
You can take it out. Which one's yours?
is that better now?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, thank you.
Which one's yours?
The floor plans, no, I think that, try that.
There you go.
Yes, yeah, that's the floor plan, yes.
Yeah, you just-
Oh, okay, okay. Okay, so basically the first floor consists of two-car garage. There's an entry foyer, and then staircase leading to the second and third floor. There's one more room in the back which can be used as a multi-purpose room, especially if some elderly people or parents can stay there. There's the access from this level to the backyard for summer activities and all that. Second floor consists of large-sized living room, dining kitchen, and breakfast area. There's a powder room, and also there's a laundry on the second floor. Third level will be 3-bedroom. There's one common bath, and there's a good-sized master bedroom with full master bath attached to that. Exterior of the building, I have to go back on the exterior also. I'm sorry, I'm not used to this. Especially there's elevation.
Which one?
I think there's 2 elevations. You can, click on that. Yeah, there's one more. Go back. There's a colored elevation on. You can just do the front. Yes. Yeah, this is going to be the front of the house. Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah. The exterior materials are basically stone stucco and siding. It's going to look much modern looking house on this. It's similar on both sides, the design-wise. And I think this whole setup will fit nicely into the neighborhood. Most of the materials are standard materials, basically we are using, so we are in compliance with the height limitation for the town and all the building codes, and it will be basically, it will comply with all the local and international building codes. Anything else? Have any questions?
Questions of this witness? The utilities like AC, where will those AC units be located?
There, we have on the floor plan, there's one mechanical room on the first level. It's on the...
So everything is internal to the facility?
It will be inside, yes, basically.
Additional questions from the board? Questions from the general public? If you can go on with your next.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next witness that I have, I'd like to introduce Mr. Matthew Wilder, who is a licensed planner and a licensed engineer. And I'm going to provide you very briefly. Mr. Wilder.
Excuse me one sec.
Yeah.
Mr. Wilder, do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give the board tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And would you please spell your name?
Sure. It is Matthew Wilder, M-A-T-H-E-W, only one T, and then Wilder is W-I-L-D-E-R.
Thank you.
All right, Mr. Wilder, are you a licensed planner?
I'm a licensed engineer and planner in the state of New Jersey. I've been a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey for 8 years and a licensed planner in the state of New Jersey for 6 years. I'm also a certified floodplain manager and a certified municipal engineer. I have testified as an expert in both engineering and planning across multiple boards throughout the state, probably 55 boards on over 250 applications as both an engineer and a planner.
I'm going to ask that you stipulate to this very qualified gentleman.
The board stipulates.
Thank you so much. Take it away, Mr. Wilder.
Sure. So before I sort of put my planner's hat on, as I am an engineer in trade, I'll start with the engineering, especially for an application where the engineering side is so limited and sort of basic. And I'll also give sort of a brief overview of the property. So the property is Lot 18 within Block 5812, and the address is 211 Hilton. The property is trapezoidal in shape and has an area slightly over 6,830 square feet. It is located within the RB zoning district. The property is at the southeast corner of the intersection of Hilton Ave and Matthews Way, and currently the home sits sort of pushed into the corner the existing home into the corner of Matthews Way and Hilton Avenue. There is an existing driveway that is on the east side of the dwelling that's accessed from Hilton Avenue. While preparing for this meeting, I took a look at some of the tax records and historical aerials. I think this structure dates back to the early 1920s. Based on its condition and also its location, that would sort of comport with the research that I've done. So the first exhibit I have this evening is a photo exhibit that I put together.
You know what, I'd like to mark this
Okay.
Exhibit A2, and I'd like to mark the architect's plans Exhibit A1 for the record.
The rendering?
The previous witness's exhibit will be A1.
Okay. Okay, so A2 is a photo exhibit prepared by myself, and what this shows is just a couple of different pictures, most of which were taken by my firm under my direct supervision in August of this year, and then one that was taken, just grabbed from Google, the street view, because it gives a sort of good representation of the condition of the existing building. So starting in the top left, which is this picture, this is sort of looking at the property from, looking sort of southwest from Hilton Ave towards the property. And again, this was a picture in August of this year. The picture in the top right, that's the picture that I grabbed from Google, and that is from June of last year. And that was taken from Matthews Way looking at the house. In the bottom left, this is standing on the parking lot looking west at the home. And again, this was another picture taken in August of this year. And then the last two are sort of standing behind the home looking at the rear of the home. The left picture, this one, is sort of taken at the back of the parking area, and the picture on the right is taken from the other side. And this was just sort of to show the age of the home and sort of the current conditions of the property. So what we're here proposing this evening, as was talked about, is a two-lot.
And we'll make this A3, the site plans?
Okay. Is a two-lot subdivision with sort of townhome-style construction where you have two attached dwellings. Before I delve into our specific proposal, I do want to just mention grading and stormwater runoff. No engineer, you'd be remiss, any engineer who testifies would be remiss if not to mention stormwater runoff in Jersey. So right now, the property drains from the east to the west. This is the highest part of the site, and it drains towards the intersection of Matthews and Hilton. There's about 5.5 feet of grade change, which that means a lot of the adjacent properties are actually draining through this property as the stormwater gets into Hilton Avenue. We're going to be mimicking that. We're not going to create any adverse drainage conditions on any adjacent properties. And I always like to sort of lead with the fact that stormwater runoff is an immense concern in all portions of the state, especially more urbanized areas where there's a lot of development. So we will be mimicking sort of those drainage patterns to ensure there is no impact. The engineer's review that we received did discuss the requirement of dry wells. We certainly take no exception, but I simply wanted to point out that our grading design, which was really the most exhaustive engineering aspect of this design, has been prepared considering the potential impacts to adjacent properties with respect to stormwater runoff. So we are seeking several variances this evening, and I'll sort of run through them. So we're seeking lot area variances. 5,000 square feet is required, where 3,771.39 square feet is proposed for lot 16.01, and 3,062.02 square feet is proposed for lot 16.02. Lot width, 50 feet is required, 43.01 is proposed for lot 16.01, and 29.5 feet is proposed for lot 16.02. Side yard setback, 5 feet is required, and both homes propose a 0-foot setback as they are attached structures, so the setback would be measured to the interior of the property, and because they're attached, the setback would be 0. Building height, number of stories. We are proposing 3 stories where 2 is permitted. It is prudent to note, however, that we do comply with the measured height required, but we are seeking a variance for the total number of stories. And that is for proposed lot, both lots, excuse me. Side yard setback for lot 16.01, and that would be to the Hilton Avenue side yard, even though it's a front. That is required to have 17 feet, and 6.6 feet is proposed. Front yard setback to Matthews Way, because they front on a street less than 50 feet in width, the required front yard setback is 37 feet, and 25 feet is proposed to both structures. And then lastly, there's a 24-inch overhang on the third floor of the units that is 11.5 feet wide, and again, 24 inches from the face of the building, whereas 18-inch projection is permitted for a width of 8 feet. So we do exceed the maximum depth of the projection as well as the width. So I know it seems like there's a lot of variances. A lot of them are sort of technical in nature because of how the subdivision line was drawn. So the lot area, the lot width, and the side yard setback really aren't caused by the proposed improvements. It's a function of the fact that we're dropping a subdivision line along a party wall on a property. So it's not triggered by the homes that we're looking to build. It's really more of a technical variance in nature. Again, with the building height, although we have an extra story, we do comport and comply with the overall measured building height. So again, it's sort of prudent to note that. And then the remaining variances for Hilton Ave, side yard setback, the front yard setback, and the maximum overhang, it's prudent to sort of look at what exists on the property now. So as I will zoom into my plan here, so this is how the property currently exists. The property along Hilton Ave is 7.2 feet setback and only 4.2 feet along Matthews Way. And as I discussed, you can see how it's sort of tucked into the corner. And when you look at the photo exhibit, just to jump back for a second, in this top right photo from Google Earth, that's standing in the middle of the road looking at the property. That house is, for all intents and purposes, on the road. It's very, very small setback. It feels like it's right on top of you. So while we are requesting certain variance relief for the proposed construction, I think when you consider the configuration that we're proposing, it's going to be far less impactful and actually will be an improvement of what you see on the property currently. So the variances that we're seeking would all be, we are seeking them under the guise of the C2 variance criteria. So 40:55D 70C2 of the municipal land use law states where an application would advance the purposes of planning or the municipal land use law and the benefits of the deviation substantially outweigh the detriment, a variance can be granted. I always want to look at detriments before I look at benefits. The potential detriment from the variances being sought, I really see none, or they're really, really minimal. Again, with the technical variances associated with lot area, lot width, and side yard setback, this is a zone that permits two-family homes. It permits duplexes. If you were to drive by this property and it was one lot with a duplex or two lots with two attached dwellings, there'd be no conceivable difference from somebody walking by the property. It's just a configuration that allows us some flexibility with marketing the property to a wider array of potential buyers. As it relates to the building height, one of the issues with building height is it can feel like it overwhelms the property or it creates a massing issue. So again, we're complying with the overall building height, and again, I would hypothesize that if you're walking by the property and it's 2 stories versus 3, that would really be a negligible difference. Whereas if it was exceeding the building height, that would certainly be more of an issue. But again, and just to jump back to the photo exhibit, this house is going to be 21 feet further back from Matthews Way than the current house is. I think that even though we're exceeding the maximum building height number of stories, this development will actually seem almost less intense than what's being proposed. And then the remaining setbacks as it relates to Hilton Ave, Matthews Way, and also the overhang, again, it's prudent to look at the existing structure and how it sits on the property. So on Hilton Ave, we are getting slightly closer by about 6 inches. But you'll notice that this dashed line here is it's only a portion of the existing of the proposed structure that's violating the side yard setback. And in the portion that it's closest to the property line is this sort of open balcony. So while we are seeking that variance, and it is slightly closer than what exists, I think it is marginally, it would have the same appearance from Hilton. All right. So seeing no real detriment, I still need to look at what are the benefits of this application. So I first look at the municipal land use law, and then I actually looked at the 2021 Union Township Master Plan. As it relates to the municipal land use law, I believe goal B is advanced, which is to secure from fire, flood, panic, and other natural and man-made disasters. The existing home is 100 years old. It shows its wear and tear. This is a new structure that's going to comply with all relevant applicable building codes. It's a safer structure. While the existing structure may not be falling down, what is proposed is an absolutely safer structure for the surrounding area. Goal I of the municipal land use law is to promote a desirable visual environment through good civic design and arrangement and creative development techniques. So I don't think I need to belabor the point when you compare these pictures to this picture. A picture speaks 1,000 words. It's going to be a much more attractive product on this site. But it's also worth noting that the placement of the structure is going to be better than it currently does. Currently, the home is really sort of stuck into the corner. By pushing it back, it's going to increase the setbacks, sort of increase the green space along the roads, and really lessen the field of the development. And again, sort of as it relates to the good civic design and arrangement, anytime you have a property that is on a corner lot, your driveway or your access point should be on the minor road. If it's on the major road, you have to potentially wait for more traffic, and it could have an issue. We're taking a driveway that fronts on Hilton, and we're turning them out to Matthews Way. So from an arrangement standpoint, I think it's a safer arrangement for the parking because, again, we're taking it from the higher intensity road to the lower intensity road. And then the last goal of the municipal land use law I'd like to reference is goal G, which is to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of uses, of which residential is one. I think it's clear how this application provides that, that use, and it's even furthered when you review the 2021 Union Township Master Plan. Specifically, I reviewed the land use element and the goals and objectives stated therein. Goal 1 seeks to maintain character of existing residential neighborhoods while providing opportunities for housing types that meet the interests and needs of all ages and abilities. And then the master plan actually does a very good job about saying, how do we achieve that goal? So three items that you can use to achieve that goal are recognizing the need for alternatives to single-family detached dwellings, promoting infill development, and integrating a more diverse housing stock. This does all three of those things. As it relates to alternatives to single-family detached dwellings, again, this is single-family attached dwellings with a subdivision line along the party wall. Promoting infill development is looking to take existing development or underutilized properties and improve them, enhance them to where they're a benefit to not only the township but the immediately surrounding area. And then a diverse housing stock, again, sort of speaks for itself in this application. Goal 5 speaks to redevelopment within Union Township. Now, we're not in a redevelopment zone, but I think it's prudent to note that the goals as it relates to redevelopment speak to encouraging improvement of properties in disrepair. That's what we're doing here. We're taking a home that, again, has seen its time come and go, and we're putting something new that would, again, enhance and promote the goals of the township and also improve the surrounding area. So for these reasons, I believe the variance is being sought can be granted without substantial detriment to the public good and without impairing the intent or purpose of the zone plan or the master plan. And then in conclusion, again, the variances we're seeking, I believe, can be granted under the C2 variance criteria. And I think this is a clear example where redevelopment is substantially upgrading one specific property that will have a sort of domino effect. You know, Hilton Ave is a pretty heavily traveled roadway, and every time you're on it, you're driving by this existing property. And I think this will be, without question, an upgrade to that property. So I'd be happy to answer any questions at this time.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
I have a question in regards to the height of the facility. Looking at the print, I think I got this right, 31.75 feet, is that correct?
I have 31.9, but yes, less than the 32
How does
foot.
that compare to the heights of the other facilities in the neighborhood?
We did not do an analysis of the existing adjacent homes.
Questions from the board?
I have a question. Was there any consideration, I had a question for the architect, too. It was really regarding the elevations. I think what would have been helpful also is to see a side yard elevation of the property, but for the planner or the engineer, was there any consideration taken regarding designing the property and putting the frontage on Hilton Avenue?
No. So part of the issue with fronting on Hilton Ave is you lose so much depth because of the trapezoidal nature of the property and the way it sort of narrows as you go further to the east. So that would result in really shallow but really wide units. And then furthermore, as I discussed, it really is beneficial to have the access points be on the minor road just for ease of getting into and out of the facility, the properties. If the driveways were to Hilton Avenue and they weren't side entry, you'd potentially have people backing up onto Hilton Ave, which would not create a safe condition. So because of the shape of the property and the way the roadways are configured, this was determined to be a beneficial layout.
Was there consideration taken about, as you mentioned, Matthews Way? It's a more narrow street than Hilton and the adjacent properties. What about the impact on that road?
So there really should be no impact. So Matthews Way is a one-way southbound, so all the traffic is going away from Hilton Avenue. The amount of trips associated with two attached single-family dwellings would have no real impact on Matthews Way or the adjacent properties on Matthews Way.
And you, in your professional opinion, you believe that creating an undersized non-conforming lot is more beneficial?
So we are creating two undersized non-conforming lots, and many of the variances are a result of that proposal. Were this a straight duplex on a single lot, many of our variances would be eliminated. I don't disagree with you there, and that's certainly a conversation that we've had internally. But our position and our thought process is to really be able to provide that variety in housing stock that not only the municipal land use law seeks, but the Union Township goes out of their way in their master plan to talk about. This provides that flexibility for potential buyers. So while your point is absolutely well received, our position is that this advances more goals so that the benefits to that deviation, to the detriment, that the benefits outweigh the deviation.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Further questions from the board? Questions from the public? Having none, can you bring forth your next witness?
That would be my last witness.
Okay. Any comments from the board? Comments from?
Comment. You mentioned that it's a 3-bedroom. Each single family is a 3-bedroom. However, there's a shower on the ground level. Is there a potential to use that play area as another bedroom?
Yeah, so I mean, the implication or the issue, and Mr. Johnson, I sort of apologize for looking past you. It would potentially increase the required parking. That would be the biggest difference between a 3-bedroom and a 4-bedroom on this property. And based upon the configuration and the design of the home as well as the driveway, we have a 2-car driveway with a double wide drive for each home. We can accommodate, if that downstairs area was a bedroom, we would have enough parking. But at the moment, it's not proposed for that. But if in the future someone wanted to convert that and use that for an elderly family member, things like that, we would have adequate capacity to park pursuant to the residential site improvement standards. So there's no proposal at this time, but we're not looking to preclude that at some point in the future.
Thank you.
Further comments from the public? Having none, would you like to summarize?
Yes, just very briefly. I believe Mr. Wilder did a fantastic job. He's, as indicated, a picture's worth 1,000 words. All we saw, what's there currently. We're proposing to beautify the neighborhood, position the property in a much better space within the property so that there's more green space. It's more attractive to all those who pass by. It fulfills the aims of Union Township to diversify their housing stock. There's very little detriment, if at all, to the neighborhood. We've addressed the water drainage issues, and we're going to ask that you approve this project so we can get started and hopefully break ground before the spring on this thing. So if there's no other questions, we rest.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
At this time, can I have a motion to approve application 20-2218, 211 Hilton LLC?
Mr. Chair, I make a motion that we approve application 20-2218, 211 Hilton LLC.
Thank you, Reverend Stalling. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Roll call vote?
Mr. Johnson?
Yes.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Reverend Starling?
Yes.
Committeeman Florio?
Yes.
Committeewoman Dellisfort?
Abstain.
Ms. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Chairman Bowser?
Yes.
Thank you so much. Have a great evening.
Congratulations. Good luck. The next agenda item this evening is application 20-22-22, PVC Properties LLC. Will the representative for that application come forward, please?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. Stephen Hale, representing the applicant, PBC Properties LLC. We are here this evening, Mr. Chairman and board members, for an application for continuation and increase of a mixed-use project on Chestnut Street, located at 517 Chestnut. As you recall, in fact, you just adopted the resolution with the change in the zoning. Now, this being in the NC zone, mixed use is permitted. It's been mixed use for many years, but this is now beautification of this property and putting it to even a better use than before. So what's proposed here is the addition of some additional retail space and also some additional apartments. There'll be, and you'll hear our architect talk about the beautiful design of the building. We think that, and then we'll have justification for the variances associated with this application. But again, it's certainly in keeping with the new neighborhood core zone, which was, again, endorsed by this board earlier this year. And again, it's very consistent. In fact, you'll see some of the same witnesses that were here last month at the Proud Papa's application to talk about the project. We have received a review from Colliers, and we did actually receive also the fire department. We'll touch on that, but the building is fully sprinklered, and we'll certainly work with your engineer and the fire department to address any comments that they have. So if there's no preliminary questions, I'd like to first call upon our site engineer, Joseph Bacci, to take us through existing conditions and then what's proposed by way of improvements.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're going to give the board tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And will you spell your name, please?
Joseph, Joseph, Bacci, Bacchi.
All right. And Mr. Bacci, I know you just were qualified and testified here last month at the Proud Papas, but if you could just confirm your credentials and that your licenses are still in full force and effect.
Yes, haven't lost my license in the last month, so all good. Licensed civil engineer in New Jersey. I've had my license for about 6 years. I've testified in front of this board and multiple boards throughout Union County, Middlesex County, and throughout the state.
The board stipulates.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. All right. So, Mr. Bacci, if you could take us through the existing conditions at the site, and then we can move on to what's proposed by way of improvements, and we can also touch on the Colliers review. And if you're identifying a document that was submitted, just tell us what page it is and the date of the document, any new exhibits we would mark this evening.
Yeah, sure. These are the site plans. Date of the document is down here, 11/23/2022.
We'll call this A1, please.
Okay.
Gotcha. Excuse me. I'm going to start just going through the, oh, sorry, this is only the cover sheet. Not sure our full site plans are here. That was only the cover sheet.
Should be the full site plan. I think if you just move the page.
That,
Yeah.
I think it's only our cover.
Why don't we go through that and...
Okay, I can describe it based on here, it's showing the
Okay.
key map. So the existing site, located Lot 3 of Block 2502 in the Township of Union. The site's approximately 16,990 square feet, minimum lot width of about 60 feet, and a depth of 285 feet. So you can see it's rectangular in shape and, pretty relatively narrow due to the 60 foot by 285. It's bound to the north by commercial residential properties, to the east by residential properties, to the south by commercial and residential properties, and to the west by Chestnut Street. Existing conditions, it's a 2.5-story building, is a principal building, consists of a pizzeria with 3 residential units. There's also 2 sheds located about in the middle of the site, behind that, the principal building, with additional parking in the rear beyond that, in this section here. Site's generally flat. Elevations vary from about elevation 100 in the northwest corner down to 97 in the southeast corner. Existing access is provided on the south edge of the site through a driveway located here. There's an existing cross-access easement with the property 509 Chestnut to the south, which you can kind of see here in this, on the tax map, provides an exit through 509. Yeah, I'm not sure. Well, just go with this then, because...
Yeah, I guess, we'll work off that.
Okay. Our architect will show you the building rendering so you can see it a little better. We should have a site plan here showing it, but there's the proposed development includes a small addition to the existing building. So I'll just have to, for now, just draw on here. Existing building approximate location is shown here in the highlighted area, if that's clear for you guys. The proposed addition would add a section over here on the side yard. That would be additional retail on the ground floor, along with 2 additional apartments on the second and third levels, 1 each. It also calls for the demolition of the block garage and frame garage that I mentioned, which are located about in the middle of the site in these general areas. Also, a small green area will be located on the side yard towards the front. Parking include, in the parking area, we're also adding, there's existing, not a dumpster currently, we're adding covered dumpster area for recycling and garbage. One thing to note, the new side yard setback will be only about 2.3 feet on the north side here. However, there's various plantings that are proposed all along the side yard on that north side to kind of accommodate for that requested variance, and as well as the back. Front yard setback will remain the same, about 11 feet. Lot coverage will increase on site. We're proposing some additional pavement in the rear. That'll increase impervious coverage from 74.2% to 87.85%. To make up for that increase in impervious coverage, and as we seek a variance for that, we'll be taking all the stormwater runoff from the proposed building, the addition and the existing building, and running it through a detention system that'll be located in the parking lot in about the middle of the site again. which will then go through an outlet structure, and will maintain the existing peak runoff rate. Lighting and landscaping, as I mentioned, we have landscaping proposed on the side yard and in the rear. We have lights proposed along this access way here, 3 to 4 lights on the building here, and additionally, I believe 3 to 4 lights in the parking area to provide adequate lighting for the parking area and for the entrance there. We are proposing 21 parking spaces, or we're looking to, there's an ADA compliant spot that'll be located right adjacent to the rear of the building. 18 regular parking spots, all located adjacent to the northern side yard here. 2 of those spots being EV make-ready spots. We're also proposing, there's a curb cut existing on Chestnut in this location. We're going to restore that to full height curb, and that'll give us an additional off-site parking spot in the front.
Okay. And you've had an opportunity to review the Collier's letter of December 7th. Our planner will go through the variances and deviations. Any issues with respect to, first, the comments with respect to grading and drainage? I know you've already indicated that you will be installing a subsurface detention.
Yeah, no issues with their comments regarding that.
And then sanitary sewer, again, it's indicating in the review that it won't trigger a TW treatment works approval. And then, so
yeah, I don't anticipate the increased demand to have any negative impact on the existing utilities in the area.
And then the trash enclosures, I know it's a requirement in Union Township that they be covered, include a floor drain connected to the sanitary system. That will be done?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. And you've described the lighting in the review letter. It indicates that it provides adequate lighting levels in the parking lot and driveway. And if you could also confirm that it complies, and that's why we're before this board, with the floor area ratio and density requirements under the new NC zone?
Yes, it does.
Okay. And that the parking lot will be repaved and restriped?
Yes, it will be.
Okay. And also, we know that this will be subject to Union County Planning Board approval, 'cause it's Chestnut Street's a county road.
Mm-hmm. Yep,
Okay.
we'll submit that as well.
So you have any problem complying with any of those terms and conditions?
No.
Okay. And I know we indicated that the comments from the fire department, the pavement will be sufficient to handle the weight of any fire vehicles and the like?
Yes, one of their comments was they wanted to confirm that because the detention basin, is located in the parking lot, they want to confirm that will be adequate to handle the load of a fire truck. We will confirm that. Just want to double check that we meet HS25 loading, but I believe it does. But we will confirm that before, and if we have to make any changes, we will.
Okay, great. And then I know the architect will touch on the fact that the sprinkler.
Excuse me,
system is
Steve, I have a question.
Yeah. Sure.
Could you provide us with a detail on how that subsurface detention system will be constructed?
Yeah, sure. In terms of sequence of construction, or just a cross-section of, yeah. Our plans have it currently. It's 12-inch perforated HDPE pipe with 6 inches of gravel on top of that, and then 4 inches of DGA, and then your base course, surface course.
Just need to see that in the detail.
Yeah, will do.
Okay. All right. So no further issues or questions with respect to any of the reviews?
No.
Great, thank you. I have no further preliminary questions of Mr. Bocci.
Questions from the board? Questions from the public?
Okay. I'd like to now call upon Palodontis, our engineer. Thank you, Mr. Bocci.
Do you swear swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
Yes,
And spell your name, please.
sure. My name is Paulo Dantas. First name is Paulo. Last name is Dantas, Dantas.
Thank you.
Okay. And Mr. Dantas, as with Mr. Bocci, you testified last month on the Proud Papa's application, but if you could again confirm your credentials and also that your licenses are still in full force and
Sure.
effect.
Graduated from the New Jersey Institute of Technology in the year 2000. Had a bachelor's of architecture degree. Been licensed since 2007. Owner and partner of Dantas Correct Architecture located in Union, New Jersey. My license is current. I have testified previously in Union as well as boards throughout Bergen, Essex, Hudson, and Middlesex, and so on.
The board stipulates.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Right. Mr. Dantas, you're obviously well familiar with this project, having worked up the architectural plans and renderings. So if you could take us through the architectural elements that are proposed, and I guess we see up there.
We'll mark
Want
this
that
A2.
Okay. Thank you, Council.
Okay.
And just
So-
refer to, that is A2, just refer to the particular page and date.
Sure. Page is sheet A1, submitted on November 29th, 2022. The project scope will consist of a 3-story addition, side addition to an existing 2.5-story mixed-use building. The project addition will provide a retail space, 2 apartment buildings above. The existing building is to remain with a 1 retail space in the ground and 3 additional apartments. Sheet A1 is the proposed ground floor. The proposed ground floor will consist of 1 retail space as a vanilla box of approximately 855 square feet, which includes a front entrance. A front entrance has a raised walkway and a ramp for ADA accessibility. 1 ADA toilet room towards the middle of the retail space. Mechanical and sprinkler room towards the rear, as well as accessibility to the rear, and also along with a rear vestibule that will have a stair access to the 2 apartments above. The existing retail space shall remain along with the existing rear studio apartment. We have provided a vertical accessibility such as a vertical lift to provide ADA accessibility to the existing apartment. Sheet A2 of the architectural. We're proposing a 2nd floor plan consisting of 1 residential apartment, approximately 898 square feet, consisting of 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, along with an open plan concept kitchen, dining, and living area. We're also including a laundry closet, storage, and mechanical room. In addition, the proposed 3rd floor, as you can see, also contains the same room counts. It's a 1 residential apartment, 900 square feet in this case, 2 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, open concept as well, kitchen, dining, and living, laundry closet, storage, and mechanical room. We have an enclosed stair that will provide only egress and accessibility to the ground and the parking lot. And also we provided a roof hatch that will be provided in final location. I think that might be the actual location, but it's just to provide accessibility to the condensing units on the roof. Other items to be noted: the building will be fully sprinkled at the residential apartments minimum. There also will be fire-rated wall partitions, not dividing the existing with the new apartments, but also will have individual assemblies dividing the residents and also the retail space. I'll just go here, sheet A3 and A4, which are the elevations along with the renderings.
Why don't we mark that as
3.
A3.
A3. I thought A2 was the actual exhibit.
Oh.
This is a new,
This is a rendering here.
This is a rendering. Okay. We are proposing a total height of 33 feet to the top of the parapet. We are looking to meet all the height requirements as well. The materials that are being proposed for this new addition, we feel it should integrate with the existing building, such as we are proposing brick veneer in the front at the addition and extending it to the existing building at the ground floor. Although the addition will have a darker brick, the existing will also have brick, but it will be lighter in color, maybe a white or off-tone white. Additionally, the emphasis of the horizontal cast stone above the retail entrances through the proposed and the existing retail spaces gives them more of integration as building as a whole. Furthermore, the cast stone not only provides a horizontal band, it creates a separation between the retail and the residential spaces. The entrance doors at the retails will be covered with a metal canopy. The doors and windows that we're proposing will be of aluminum storefront. We're looking to, actually on the existing, to open up more of the area of the existing space. We are proposing vinyl clad windows at the second and third floor. Built-out canopies at the top will provide a cap for the building design, and elements will provide, that we're providing, we believe will create a more cohesive design by showing the materials and creative projections, recessed planes on the facade. Our architectural characteristics and material selections, we feel that is based on the aesthetics not only of the neighborhood and the current design trends that it's taking place in the township. The signage that we're proposing and the rendering is basically for illustration, but we are looking to comply with the signage requirements. Scale and proportion, we took that in consideration, and recesses of facade designs. The intent of all of this is pretty much to eliminate a monolithic building and continuous structure. I think that concludes.
And from an architectural standpoint, any problem complying with the review letter that was issued by Colliers?
No, we do not.
Great, thank you. I have no further questions at this time. Mr. Dantas?
Questions from the board?
Real quickly, Mr. Dantes.
Sure.
And I ask because this is my neighborhood where I live. The building, 517, will this be directly on Chestnut Street?
Yes, it is.
And the driveway to your right on your photograph, or your diagram there, that will also be coming out onto Chestnut Street?
Yes.
Okay. The building to the far right, is that the Pedonis?
It is. I just want to mention that this rendering is more for illustration purposes. We don't really put, we don't have a photograph and then implementing the render.
Right. And then to the left, I guess that would be the Boston Market?
That's correct.
Okay, good. All right, thank you.
And I believe actually the bushes and everything, it's what's currently there in Boston Market. They have like, you know.
Now, is there a problem? I see a lot of trees here. Are those trees, do they belong to Boston Market or do they belong to?
They belong to the Boston Market.
All right, would you have to work with Boston Market on doing?
They actually don't overflow to our property.
I'm sorry?
Do not overflow to our property.
They don't?
Do not.
Okay. All right, thank you.
Questions from the board?
I have a question, Chairman. Could you just address the first two paragraphs in Mr. Alou's memorandum?
Sure. I think in regards to the side yard and I believe that was the side yard, and we mentioned that we would work with the fire department in regards to that, if need to extend it to 3 feet. But we felt that in regards to egressing and safety, I think we have the bedrooms in the front and the back, which will have plenty of.
Are those two-bedroom units sprinklered?
That's correct.
They are, okay.
Yeah, actually, the whole entire residential portion will need to be sprinkled.
And then with respect to the EV charging, we did discuss that. If fire department wants them relocated, as long as we comply with the EV state requirements. We think where they are is a good location, but we'll work with the fire department if they have any
Yeah,
comments.
his concern was access in the event of a battery fire. So I know we have a new ordinance requiring EV charging stations, but I think in certain instances it might not make sense to have one, especially in an area that's inaccessible.
Fair enough.
No problem in relocating it.
Further questions from the board? Questions from the public?
Yes, I'd now like to call upon Alexander Doherty, our professional planner.
Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're going to give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And would you spell your name for the record?
Alexander Dougherty, last name is Dougherty.
Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Doherty, I believe you had testified before this board. I know you've been at the zoning board, but if you could please give the board the benefit of your work, educational experience, area of expertise, and licenses you hold, and whether you've been accepted as a professional planner before other boards or courts of the state of New Jersey.
Yes. My license are PP, AICP. Both are good and current standing. I have testified in front of this board before. My education is at a Rutgers-Blaustein with a master's in city and regional planning, concentration in development and redevelopment studies, and certification in public policy. And I testified in this capacity on a weekly basis. A little over 50 this year, probably closer to 100.
The board stipulates.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. All right, Mr. Doherty, you're obviously well familiar with this project.
Yes.
And I know you've prepared some planning exhibits. And if you could provide the justification for the relief that is being sought in connection with this site plan application.
Certainly.
Is this exhibit
And
A4?
perhaps you want to do it as all as A4 planner's
A4,
package?
could you just
Okay.
describe what A4 is, please?
It's a slide packet of maps and photographs consisting of 12 slides.
Thank you.
Yep. Just blow this up a little bit. So on the first slide, really, this is what it's showing, the red arrow just kind of pointing to the site. The site itself is in the NC neighborhood core. A former zone was the BB. This new zone now permits a mixed-use development. Slide 2 here is the site outlined in red. We are currently one tax lot, block 2502, lot 3, as shown in red. And these were made from NJ DEP's GeoWeb. Slide 3 here is just more of an aerial with their filter lens. You know, I think the lot lines are slightly skewed from the aerial, but again in red is the intended lot depiction here. The next slide here is a photo taken of myself on December 17th, this past weekend, of the property in question. And what we're going to do here is just kind of show an overall view on Chestnut. These two red brick apartments play a particular vital role with the overall site and the way it flows. With that being said, the next slide here, we can start to see there's a one-way in, one-way out, ingress, egress here. If you can see the arrow here, this is the way in, and it kind of loops around the back, and it exits between the two red buildings. And the next slide hopefully will show that in greater detail. These were taken by myself with my drone. Basically comes in, circulates around, and flows out this way. What I'd like to point out in this particular shot here is the gray rooftop here and the brown rooftop. These particular sheds or garages, if you will, approximately about 800 square feet. That's essentially about what we're looking to replace on the side right here where there's some debris and there's a car. This is the curb cut that was just mentioned prior, and restoring that and adding one more additional parking space on the street of Chestnut. And again, with these sheds and garages gone, we actually generate a few more parking stalls in the back. The next slide here shows the easements through the property for circulation between the neighboring lot 401. Again, that's kind of depicted right here. This was taken from NJ property facts, which is the tax lots here. The next slide, if you will, zoom out a little bit, is a more of a, just spinning the drone around, if you will, again, showing that side yard area of where the proposed extension of the building would be and new development, if you will. It'd be right here in this public, this realm right here in the side yard. I think when we look at what's manifested there now with some of the trash and debris, certainly I think we'll clean up the public realm and the public scape, if you will. And these next four boxes, if you will, just kind of reiterate that. Top one is a head-on view of where the side yard is, where we're looking to extend the building with this addition. What's important to note as we look at the top left and to the top right is that orange slated fence. I think it's going to play a critical role as we go through some of the variances we need. That top left shows, again, where it would be, the extension. The bottom left and bottom right, these are the sheds and the garages, if you will. That bottom left one, I'd like you to point out, right on the side over here is a car sticking out. Again, this little shed will be gone, so I think we're going to open up the back there and enhance the circulation of the site. And again, the bottom right there is a two-car garage, again, to be removed. And the last two slides here, again, as we just saw, conceptual rendering of what is being proposed here, and then what's already kind of manifested across the street. I think we're looking to complement that new development, mirror that, and kind of accentuate this corner on Chestnut with some comparable development and conceptual designs here for the new development patterns that we see coming online. So with that, that's just what the 12 slides indicate here. We can see Boston Market right here on the right of the site that was just mentioned. And just go through it. We do have some pre-existing variances here. We have a lot width variance. Your zone requires, I might have wrote this down wrong, 105? If I'm not mistaken, it was 150. Might have wrote that down wrong. We're at a deficiency. We have 59.65 feet in lot width. So it's a pretty narrow strip of land here. We have some existing side yard setbacks. A garage, which we just went over, is to be removed. It's at, your zone requires to be at 10. We're at 3.5 with that existing garage. Again, to be removed. Minimum parking setbacks, 10 feet. We are at 0.76. We have a minimum parking from a residential zone of 10 feet. We're at 0. We have some new variances. We have impervious coverage. We're at 87.85. The zone allows for 80. So a slight uptick above what's permitted. We have some C relief for side yard setback, 2.26 feet versus the 10 for our side yard setback. We have some relief for parking supply. We're at 19 versus what the zone requires for 21. And that's because I believe the classification of a fast food establishment for the pizzeria. Again, we are creating, I think, additional approximately 6 parking stalls, and one of those would be on the street. We do have the EV vehicles coming online as well. And we have another variance for not providing an off-street loading zone for the property. We do have some design waivers, again, related to parking setback from a residential zone. We're at 2. The zone requires 10. Parking setback from a property line, 2. The zone requires 10. Landscape buffer to a residential zone. We provide none. The zone requires 25 feet and no curbing along the asphalt perimeter. But with all that said, I'd like to point out what we do comply with. FAR, the zone allows for 90% FAR. We're at 34.2. So when we talk about a buildable envelope on the property and the FAR, we're nowhere near what is the permitted density, 20 units an acre. We're at 12.8. So when we look at the practicality of what we're proposing here, I think it's certainly within reason for the zone, and we're well under that threshold. Our variances really do relate to a C1 hardship here, and the core question for C1 hardship is a peculiar and exceptional practical difficulties or an undue hardship on the applicant arising out of, and the first one out of 3 is exceptional narrowness, and certainly I think we hit that. We're at 59 feet in width. With that being said, to satisfy the relief for the C relief, you could satisfy it on the C1 hardship or C2. You don't need to meet both, but in this particular case, I think we certainly can. So I'll go right into the C1. I believe there is the basis relief for the hardship under the land, the lot size, the lot width being extremely narrow. This is, in my opinion, the Lane case at its finest. The Lane case basically found where the structure was typical for the area, the hardship could be based on the land. I think with complying with the FAR and the density, I think we are a typical structure for the area. The land really is the relief that we need, and as you saw in the photos, there really isn't any more land we can grab to kind of make that deficiency up. When we look at the exceptional narrowness of the lot, for the side yards, as we heard, the parking, the buffering, it's pretty hard to provide 25 feet of buffer to a residential zone when your lot is about 59 feet wide. And then when we look at the lot coverage, we're at 87 and change, where the zone requires 80, so a slight uptick, and the overall relief is really related to the narrowness here. We could justify this under the C2, where the project represents a better zoning alternative for the site. The benefits of the application would substantially outweigh any detriments. As a whole, looking at the application, I think we have new development that completes the street and fills that void, if you will, that's been used for trash. It's kind of an eyesore. I believe this new project delivers housing stock, and new amenity and retail space. As we just heard before, we are providing two residential apartments, two bedrooms above. I think the smallest one is just over 900 square feet. The third floor is about 1,010 square feet, so pretty spacious, two bedrooms. The existing layout now is 3 one-bedrooms, so we do have a good balance here. When we look at the overall visual project, if you will, on that last slide, the prior slide, I think visually this project will enhance the site, add value to the site, which would add value to the surrounding neighborhood. When I look at the project overall, I think we meet actual parking supply demand here. We are generating more parking stalls than currently exist. When we look at the zone intent, mixed use is permitted. With that being said, you know, you can kind of walk out your door and have these amenities at your doorstep. So when I look at that and I look at the buffering for residential zones and the parking in a residential zone, I do think when we start to look at the project overall, I think there's a lot of positive here as far as the parking requirements and being along the property line in the residential zone. Again, a mixed-use development would have parking right at your doorstep as well. I believe the new extension will bring the site more into harmony with the new development and Union's vision for Chestnut Corridor. The building, I don't believe, is overpowering for the area. It complies with the height, as we just went over. And the relief, I believe this is reflective of the recent development across the street. Anchoring those corners is very attractive addition to Chestnut. The improvements to the site, as I said, add value to the site as well as the surrounding area. I believe all the above promote the purposes of land use law. Purpose A, E, G, I, and M. Purpose A, encourage municipal action to guide appropriate use or development in a manner which will promote the public health, safety, morals, and general welfare. Purpose E, to provide or promote the establishment of appropriate population densities and concentrations that will contribute to the well-being of persons, neighborhoods, communities, and regions, and the preservation of the environment. Purpose G, to provide sufficient space and appropriate locations for a variety of agricultural and residential, recreation, commercial, and industrial uses in open space, both public and private, according to their respective environmental requirements in order to meet the needs of all New Jersey citizens. Purpose I, to promote a desirable visual environment through creative development techniques and good civic design and arrangement. Purpose M, to encourage coordination of various public and private procedures and activities shaping the land with the view of lessening the cost of such development for a more efficient use of land. I believe this application here hits a lot of those at their core, especially Purpose I here. When I look at potential detriments under a C2 balancing test, I believe the project will not create any impacts of a substantially adverse nature. As we heard, the draining issues I think are comparable to what's out there today with this new development. So from a build-out perspective, I believe you know, stormwater management and flooding and the impervious coverage are mitigated with the implementation of that stormwater detention system. This is a relatively low intensity. It will not cause any adverse impacts to the Chestnut Street corridor, nor the residential character of the surrounding neighborhood. Visually, the project will be on scale with the neighboring structures. It is a permitted use within the zone. Functionally, As we saw through the site circulation and the easements, I believe the site will function safely and operate efficiently. I think we're actually opening up some of that with the reduction of those garages. I believe the units are spacious and provide for a greater diversity with a mix of 1 and 2 bedroom apartments. And when we look at the parking, I believe, this, again, as I stated earlier, it's this minor deficiency of 2 spots. I think we meet actual parking demand. We're also creating more parking. This is a mixed-use corridor. I don't believe parking is going to be a deficit to take away from this beautiful application. And I think the lack of buffering and parking setbacks, I believe when we really look at this is a long-standing condition associated with the site. And I really do think it's mitigated to its best potential with that orange slatted fence. There's really not much more we can do as far as getting some of that buffering between the parking and that neighboring zone. I'll conclude the new proposed mixed use with the extension is consistent with good planning principles. It will bring new housing stock to the community and add value to Chestnut Street and the surrounding neighborhood, and the relief is, in my opinion, very truly minimal in nature. With that said, I believe the statutory criteria for relief has been met and approval would be warranted.
Thank you very much. Appreciate that thorough testimony. I have no further questions at this time.
Questions from the board?
Mr. Chairman, I have one question.
Yeah.
Maybe 2 questions. On your conceptual drawing here,
Yes.
I don't know if it's an error, but that car coming up the easement, is that the right direction that car would be
In this
traveling?
picture, no, it's not.
All right, I just want
No,
to
it
make
should
sure.
be the taillights.
All right, it should be facing out. So with that said, if for motorists who are pulling off of, I think this is Chestnut Street, how will they know how to navigate this easement in and out?
Well, there are arrows on the asphalt.
Okay.
Yeah, there's some arrows in the asphalt. They're a little hard to see here, but I'll zoom in, if you will. And it is pretty narrow coming in there. This is the arrow pointing one way out. I think this is heavily used, so the arrow's there. But we do have the arrows kind of pointing, going all the way around the site.
And if signage is
Yeah.
suggested, we have no problem adding that.
And I believe this whole area would be remilled and paved.
Yes,
So
it's going to be repaved and restriped.
No further question.
In terms of the easement, do you have agreements in place to provide access to that roadway?
Yes, we did provide those to Mr. Hatterer. Steve said he did. No?
I
Right,
saw
we'll-
those. Yeah.
We'll submit them, if they haven't been already. They're in place already, as they're picked up on the tax map.
Okay. You mentioned that you have a deficit of 2 parking spaces.
Yeah, I believe.
Where do you propose that deficit to be made up as far as parking? On the street?
So we do have the one on the street, but I don't believe that's actually counted because that's to be on-site. But if you were to count that new reduction of that curb cut to allow for parking, we would have a deficiency of 1. I think when we look at this, and not to get into the weeds of it, we have the parking deficiency. We believe we met parking, but it was defined as a fast food, which created the parking variance.
And the last question is, can you just show the trash handling procedure?
I don't have this,
Well, it'll be private,
Would it be
private collection,
Would
yeah.
it be a dumpster in the back someplace?
yeah, I believe it's in the back. I believe,
Yeah, behind
correct
it.
me if I'm wrong, it's
Yeah,
dumpster, then EV,
Yeah, we've got the building, then the handicap
and then
accessible
dumpster.
spaces, then the dumpster, then the UV. And the dumpster will be, because it's a restaurant-type use, cover and drained.
Mr. Lee?
Yes. Can you zoom in particular to the area between the property and Boston Market, particularly the orange, I guess it's the orange fence?
Yeah.
Yes. I think through previous testimony is that the trees are on the Boston Market property. Is that correct?
They certainly are. I think a better photo of that would be in my 4-part little one towards the end here. Let me just jump to it. This one. You can kind of see it here. Those trees are on the other side of the fence.
And it seems, based on these photos that you've taken on December 17th,
Yeah.
that there's overgrowth of those trees onto the property. Is that correct?
Correct.
Could you estimate in terms of like, to the extent, maybe like a foot or two, or I know it's uneven looking at some of the images, but it seems like there's some considerable overgrowth from that property, right?
Right, and with tree limbs, I think it's not common, but you can cut limbs over your property line.
Yep. I guess my question would be, has there been discussions or any just coordination with the owners of that subsequent property for Boston Market just to maintain those trees, and considering that there's going to be a 3-foot setback, and as well as potential access of fire if there was an emergency for that side of the property?
I believe the applicant, in his longstanding nature in the community, would do the right thing and reach out to Boston Market and ensure the preservation of these trees during construction.
Yeah, I just confirmed that.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. No, thank you.
Further questions from the board? Questions from the public? Mr. Hill?
We have no further witnesses at this time, Mr. Chairman.
Any comments from the board? Comments from the public? I have a comment. You mentioned earlier, Mr. Hale, that your applicant was willing to meet with the fire official to resolve the
Yes.
concerns. Can we make that a condition of
No
approval?
problem making that a condition of approval.
Could you repeat that? I'm sorry, I couldn't hear it.
Oh, that meeting with the fire official would be a condition of approval.
Okay, with that being said, can I have a motion to approve?
Mr. Chairman, I make a motion to approve application 2022-22 PVC Properties LLC, 517 Chestnut Street, B2502L3, with the approval subject to the conditions stipulated by this board and as noted by the township engineer and fire official.
Thank you, Mr. Miller. Can I have a second?
Second.
Thank you. Roll call vote, please.
Mr. Johnson?
Abstain.
Mr. Lee?
Yes.
Reverend Starling?
Yes.
Committeeman Florio?
Yes.
Committeewoman Dellisfort?
Yes.
Ms. Ricketts?
Yes.
Mr. Miller?
Yes.
Chairman Bowser?
Yes.
Thank you very much, and wish everyone a safe and happy holiday season.
Thank you.
See most of you next year.
Yes. Congratulations.
Thank you.
At this time, being that there's no additional new business, can I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Can I get a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Adjourned.